And a 1. Boom! We're here. It's now, I think we're on to presentation number 5 for Agile Ventures Conference, AVConf 2018. Woo! We're very lucky to have reasons. But without further ado, I will share my screen and hand over the floor to Robert. Thanks very much, Robert. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing the slides and for the introduction. So I have 3 slides for you, and I would like to do a live demo later on. I like live demos. Regarding the slides, I just have some general information for you. Of course, we're an open source app. All the code is hosted on GitHub. It's my user handle, O Schäfer, and the project name is Rundfunk Mitbestimmen. If you want to try it out, you can do so on the URL rundfunk-mitbestimmen.de. Unfortunately, it's a very German name, so it's hard for English speakers to pronounce it. Rundfunk Mitbestimmen. And we are on Slack, in the Agile Ventures Slack, hashtag Rundfunk-Mitbestimmen, and you can even follow us on Twitter, RundfunkMB. So could you please switch over to the next slide, Sam? Yes. So what is this project about? All over Europe, people have to pay for public broadcasting, and Germany is a special place where people have to pay even though they don't use it. And there's no legal opt-out. In 2013, they changed it. So I think in the UK, you can write a letter and then you're excluded from paying the public broadcasting fees. But here in Germany, this is not possible. And since then, a lot of people got very angry about it because they don't understand why they have to do it. And they deliver, well, rather bad quality. And especially, there's no public feedback. As a German citizen, every home has to pay, but there's just no way of getting a say, right? So it would be great to have some kind of feedback. On the other hand, broadcasters are also starving for information. Like, they want to deliver better quality, and to do so, they need some kind of performance data, like what people would actually like to pay for, what they feel is good quality. And here's the thing. So we might have a win-win situation here where we can, on the one hand, generate some public feedback for people, and on the other hand, use that public feedback in order to improve the program. And just to give some philosophical background, why do we have public broadcasting after all? It's because of generating or creating your political opinion. In a democracy, we need access to information. And to do so, we have some kind of public broadcasting, which is publicly funded and needs to be politically independent, and everyone has to pay for it, right? So this is a thing that is funded by the society. So we have a total expenditure of 8 billion euros every year. And that's a lot of money. And yeah, we would like to improve the content. Okay, so next slide, please. This is roughly our technology stack. So we develop application. We develop basically 2 applications. One is for the front end and one is for the back end. So this is a modern web application where you have a single page app running in your browser while having a backend application running on your server. In our case, we are using Ember.js as a framework. Ember.js is similar to React, Angular, and Vue.js. And on the backend, we are using Rails, and we are using Rails as an API, right? So between those 2 applications, we have an interface, which is the JSON API, which is a specification, and we send data back and forth from the server. So if somebody wants to join this project, you're going to learn a lot about modern web development and Ember.js, and of course, how to use Ruby and Rails in this environment. Apart from that, we're using a lot of other technologies. So we are using behavior-driven development and test-driven development. We are using Mocha.js and Chai for front-end tests. We are using RSpec for backend tests, and we have a setup where you can run full stack tests that access the front end and the backend simultaneously with Cucumber and Capybara. In order to deliver, like, we want to create a public feedback. So we have data, and in order to make this data perceivable, we are visualizing this data. So on the front end side, you would also learn how to use, for example, D3, or how to use high charts, or Leaflet. These are all like high charts and D3 are useful for generating charts, Leaflet for generating maps. Besides that, we also use a technology which is called JSON Web Token Authentication, which is a very modern way of authenticating users. We are using Docker, and we are using Sidekick for our background jobs. So this is, let's say, some important technologies that you are going to learn if you would like to participate in this project. I myself, I'm a software developer with a master's degree in computer science, and I really do my best to, teach people the best I can. Matthew and Mariam, who are currently joining this meeting, are can probably say something about that. We're meeting every week, currently on Wednesdays. So it's 8 p.m. Berlin time. So I think that would be 6 p.m. Correct me if I'm wrong, 6 p.m. UTC. Everyone is very welcome to join. So this is it regarding the slides, like the general information that's important. And I would say let's start with the live demo. Sam, how about that? So this is our site. As I told you, the URL is rundfunk-mitbestimmen.de. And when you go the first time to the page, you can see you can spend your broadcasting fees here. And it's fine if you scroll down a little bit. That's just fine. I'll just talk while you visit the site. So you can see that you want to create more influence, give people a say, a vote in how they want to have their fees be spent. And that could also create a value for broadcasters. You can also see how the situation is at the very moment. And for example, the most money is spent on sports, especially the broadcasting licenses, for example, for the current soccer world championship, which is very, very, very expensive. And this would be some example for a question. Do we want to pay so much money for something, or do we rather want to spend the money more on cultural or educational stuff? That's something that I would say the people, like the society, could decide. I don't have a strong opinion about it. I'm basically fine with everything, but that would be, for example, a question that could be answered with such an application. You can, for example, also see how little is spent on, for example, culture, history, and science, or even music, for example. So this is, should give you a rough overview. Now, I would say let's click on this huge blue button at the top of the page, which tells you this is how would fee pays decide. So there's a big blue button that says participate now. So you, as a citizen or whatever, you can click on that button and you will get to a site where you see a random selection of currently 6 broadcasts out of a database, right? So you can, if you want, you can decide to support a broadcast or not. If you're not logged in, if you click on support, there will be a login window, because this will be an action where you write into the database, right? And this is the reason why we have to ask people for logging in. You don't have to do it right now, Sam, if you don't want to. I don't know if you have authenticated or registered at this application, but it would at least be possible. If you enter your email address, you will receive a so-called magic link where you can click on the link and it will redirect you to the page, and then you're magically logged in. This is because we're using the service that I previously mentioned, also 0. So the service handles the authentication for you. And we can easily add social logins like Google, Facebook, or whatever you like, or even mail authentication for everyone. You don't even need a password. So for this, we are using password-less authentication. I don't know if you want to click on that link, Sam. You can do if you want to, but we can also just continue on. So I think you did, because I can see access token in the URL. And if everything goes well, then you should be logged in now. So the button on the top right corner should say log out. No. Oh, yes. Yeah, it's logging in. OK, so you're now logged in, and you can even click on like support now. And that would create a list on our backend. So the server tracks every broadcast that you want to support, right? You could, for example, support computer and communication or whatever. That's, for example, a radio show, I think. And yes, it's a radio. It's in the radio is called Deutschlandfunk. So you could, for example, support that one and click on next, which will give you this next selection of broadcasts that you can support. So this is a way of accessing the database and giving you a selection of and creating this list of supported broadcasts. Is everything okay, Sam?
Yeah, so I hope you can hear me okay. My computer's having trouble with the Hangouts recently. So I think it is just taking a little bit of extra time to load the page there. I don't think it's a function of the site. I think it's my computer and the downstream the Hangout. But hopefully here I can now. Yeah, is it going to let me click on? There we go. Yes, so I've clicked it on the support button there, and it's gone red.
This will make this little heart symbol colorful, and this means okay, you supported recently supported one broadcast. And by the way, you can also interrupt me if you have any questions, because I'm talking a lot without knowing whether I'm making myself clear. Is there anything that is too complicated?
All makes sense so far. Yep. So what was the next thing that I would? So I've kind of here said,
you can.
Yeah, and I want to support this show.
Yeah, and you could, for example, click on next. This will bring you to the next page. And by the way, we could even discuss new features here. So I was thinking, how about endless pagination, or how we can infinite scrolling? And there's more. Like you can, I don't know, you can support children's broadcasts, you can support educational broadcasts, and so on and so on. It's also fine if you, just support 2 broadcasts, and at some point you can decide to distribute your budget. Every home has to pay a monthly fee of €17.50. So as soon as you click on distribute budget, the server will evenly distribute your budget on your supported broadcasts, which right now, because Sam just registered on the page, are just 2. And it is evenly distributed now. If you want, you can change the amount. That's also possible. If you would say, I want to give that, I want to, this one is more important to me, or I value this broadcast more. And here we get to also one unique property of this application. This application is not about actual consumption. It is about how you value things, which is a totally different thing. I spoke to people who are working in public broadcasting. I spoke to managers and CEOs, and they have a huge problem on how to evaluate the so-called public value. And they even have troubles to define what is actually public value. The best definition that I found on the internet, of course, was public value is what the public values. Right? So it is not actual consumption, because then you would get those trash shows. It is what you think is worth your money, or what you want to support. And this is something that's actually very interesting to put this online and publicly available, because nobody ever tried to do something like that before. Like the broadcasters right now, they're not doing anything in that regard. They just have the TV rankings. I think in the US they are called, help me, Nielsen rankings. They come from a special TV box, and they calculate the actual consumption. So anyhow, you should see how this whole thing works. So Sam just participated in this like global survey, and we even have global data from everyone. So you just saw what Sam likes to support, but you can also click on the statistics in the menu bar at the top if you want to see how did other people vote, and then you will get to like a table with all the data of other people, and this is by default sorted by like the total amount. And it is interesting what's on, for example, in this top 10 of support broadcasts. So I can see like Die Sendung mit der Maus, for example, is a very, very popular broadcast among children. Extra is political satire. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Same, Die Anstalt and Heute Show. Tagesschau is the most important news broadcast. And Neo Magazin Royal is also very, it's something that's very popular among young people. Less for, like, it's also political satire. And you can, for example, even sort it on different, for different columns. And we can also visualize this like tabular data more in a more like probably or hopefully expressive way. There are also visualizations. For example, you can, Sam, could you click on visualization in the menu bar? So I think in the menu, I cannot see what, yes. So there are different ways of visualizing data. So one would be, for example, how if you put those broadcasts into groups like education, sports, whatever, this would be a visualization by category. That's in this case the top left visualization. We can also see where are people coming from, and is there a broadcast that is very popular in one area. You can even Matt and Faith recently implemented a way of visualizing the data by age and gender. Or you can even, which I find also very interesting, just as an example, maybe click on relationships between broadcasts. You can do some, it's called collaborative filtering. So you can see what are broadcasts that are often supported by the same people. So if you click on relationships, there you go. So this visualization, for example, is implemented with D3. And from this visualization, you can see, so the colors represent radio, TV, or online. And so right now, orange is radio, blue is TV, and green is online broadcasts. And from, I haven't checked out this visualization for a long time, but last time I could see that, for example, you have a strong correlation of the radio broadcast from Deutschlandfunk. This is the top left group here. They are closely together. And you could even see, yeah, this one, for example. So I believe, yeah, so it's kind of telling, because in that example, it's Deutschlandfunk is very known for high quality things, and yeah, people usually search for it, and so that's not something that you would listen to only when you're driving in your car, but it's regarded as one of the like the best radio broadcaster, I guess. So I talked for a long time now, and I think you should have a good overview of what we're trying to achieve here and what is the goal. Like, why are we doing it? How are we doing it? And what is the current status quo? Maybe I should also mention what we are looking for. Like, we in general, we are looking for everybody who wants to participate, even though this is a Europe focused or maybe even Germany focused topic. That doesn't mean that it's only interesting, like being part of this project is you have to be from Germany or whatever. Like, nobody except myself who's in the team is currently is from Germany. So not all people on this page are currently on the team. So Matt is not there, Mariam is not there, Faith is not there. But yeah, we are an international team, and I'm doing my best to help people to learn about modern web application and web development, and doing statistical analyzations and so on. And the current weaknesses of this project is that we need some. So I would probably prioritize as the next goals to improve our user engagement. Users tend to visit the page one time or maybe twice and then never come back. But we have still the database of our users. So we would like to engage them to check out new features, for example, or do more of like social media or PR. So how can we make this project more popular? Because it works as it works better if it's if more people use it and if more people share their data, because then the more people share their data, this project becomes more relevant. So this is also something, how can we use channels like social media or anything else where we can tell people there's a way of making yourself heard, like to create public feedback. Okay, so I would say this would be time for questions and answers. Sam, Matt, Mariam, is there something that you would say I forgot, or was there something that wasn't quite clear?
I was going to start by saying fantastic presentation, Robert, and just apologies that my computer is slowing your fantastic justice. I'm debugging session here with Hangouts. I think I do encourage everyone to go to the site themselves and quickly they run on their. They can all feel really good about how much faster their computers are than mine. Mine's still sort of thrashing in the background. I hope you can hear me okay. But yeah, I certainly have some questions. But yeah, Matt and Mariam, do you have anything you wanted to ask Robert?
No, everything was clear.
Yeah, not to ask, but just to give the feedback. Like that, it's been really a pleasure working with you, Robert. Like I think it's from the very beginning. Like I feel more comfortable pairing with people. It doesn't have to be the project manager, of course, but I find that like it's been really nice pairing with you, and also being able to hook up with other people who want to work on the RFM project, and so yeah, it's been really great, and yeah, we've got I think one feature that Dominique also helped out on, and yeah, we're pairing on another feature at the moment. So, and we've created an event there on the Agile Ventures site for tomorrow before the regular meeting. If anyone wants to join and hang out and learn about a little bit more about Cucumber and BDD, TDD, and all that kind of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I will also check out Slack now because I'm interested if there are any questions. So they should be posted at AVAGM conference, right?
That's right. Of course, we may have a bit of a lag there because yeah, the people who are watching on the stream You know, they may be like 5 or 10 minutes behind us, but yes, potentially there may be questions coming in there. At the moment, we've actually got questions coming in for the previous presentation, just indicating.
There's Paolo had a question about your visualization, but that's for.
That's actually for Sage. So Sage. While we give the people who are kind of on the slower stream some time, I was just going to ask a little bit about the data architecture for your site. Is that as I understand it, the site is at the moment it's not kind of hooked up, as it were, to the legislature in as much as, you know, as I've done, where I can come in here and I can vote for different things. It's sort of a proof of concept that people can use the interface and get that done. And it's pulling data out of lots of APIs, I imagine. But at the moment, it's not kind of currently connected up to how the money is being spent in Germany, is it?
Yeah. So you could ask a couple of questions. So the data comes from the users themselves. The broadcasts, like description, name, is user-generated content. At the very beginning, we started with a set of 200 broadcasts that we scraped from websites, but now they're all user-generated. So the data comes from ourselves. It is not even publicly available how the money is spent. So this is, I would say, confidential. It is very questionable why this is not public, because, I mean, tax money has to be public as well. And I think the reasoning here is that broadcasters say it's because of competition. They, for example, they hire production companies, and that's what they say. They need to put their actual production costs secret, so they have better contracts, like they can negotiate with them in a better position. I find this very questionable. Is it actually correct English? I just translated that from German. Like, I don't agree that.
Yeah, questionable is correct.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think this is rather an excuse. Anyhow, there's no real public data on a detail where you could use it. There's a very general statistic. So I also there's a button where you can download in a PDF, which is by a control agency that computes some performance data, including how money is spent. But this is very high level. It's not detailed at all. So you don't get something like how much is spent every month for this broadcast. This is not publicly available at all. And what you also asked, it's not. I think, Sam, you also asked how this is connected to the brokers themselves, or is it just a proof of concept? Yes, it is a proof of concept. There's no direct feedback, so whatever you post here or publish here as data is not going to enforce anything. Nevertheless, this application proves something. For example, it is actually possible. Like, when you talk to people who in the management from public broadcasting, they tell you people are not even able to assess quality, right? So they think people are dumb. I mean, sorry for my wedding, but this is how I feel it. Like, when I hear this, they say people are dumb. People cannot even assess the quality. We are the only people who can actually tell what's good quality or what not. And I would say this should not be the case. The only we should ask people what they think is good quality. And a lot of people are complaining about the current quality that is financed with 8 billion euros. That's a lot of money, and you get very, very little for it. And a lot of people are complaining about that. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of misspending. And yes, I would say that's that's it for now. So did I answer your question, Sam, or did I miss it?
No, you did. My apologies that my question was badly worded, but yes. So that's it. That's fascinating. Yeah. So the initial data about programs, it was sort of scraped, and then now it's sort of up to the users to maintain that list of programs so that that's a correct reflection of the programs that are actually available in Germany. And then I guess sort of anybody who can create a an account can kind of distribute their support, and then you have all the visualization, all the statistics, and so on. And so exactly as you say, somebody who would argue that you couldn't collect this data can see from this that actually you could collect the data. And I guess in the long run, in the ideal world, there would be APIs for like all the programs that existed. So, and
Exactly.
you'd pull that out, and so that would be always up to date, and you wouldn't have to worry about that. And then it would also be, you know, as you signed up, it would be validate. You'd have to like validate against, yes, we are a household in Germany, and that, you know, that bit of extra security there. And then, you know, it could be being used by, you know, the policymakers in the country. And I totally I sympathize, I empathize with the point that you make about, you know, how a lot of these things are secret, that they, you know, it's tax money being spent, but there's this argument from, oh, well, we can't say what we're spending it on because that would be revealing like sort of the trade secrets of the people who are bidding for the contracts and so on. And it's yeah, they had a big workshop recently in the UK about trying to make that tendering process open, because, you know, I think when public money is being spent, I don't know, there's a strong argument for transparency.
Yeah, exactly. I think from the UK, there's an organization. I spoke to the founder, the Open Knowledge Foundation, and I think they have a slogan that open information is like empowerment. Like, if there's no information available, there are no journalists that can make something, like they cannot expose something that is not right, because they just don't know, right? If you have data available, then you can analyze it, and it gives like journalists the power to criticize something. And so we are basically also opening up some kind of, even like gaining data and make that publicly available. Right?
Absolutely. Yes, it's well, we could carry on chatting, but I guess we should just yeah. Any other thoughts or questions from Matt and Mariam, since you're in the room with us, or even if you just want to tell, I think you've already anything else that you might want to say about the experience of working with the code base. Obviously, the interface is lovely. It's all Ember there.
Yeah. So, is the question towards Mariam and Matt, or me?
Yeah, I was just yeah. Before, I mean, there was more things I could carry on chatting on that philosophical point, but I thought I'd just hand over to Matt and Mariam in case there was anything else they wanted to ask or to comment on.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that I really like all the visualizations as well, which is something I haven't got so much into learning about, but something I would like to get more into. And also, like, I noticed on the slide, but sometimes when you have the people's I don't know, icons at the bottom, where on the Slack, the Google Hangouts, like you can't see some of the content in the bottom right corner. And I don't know if you mentioned anything about it, but something really cool that's happening right now is the Dockerization of the site.
Yeah, so I'm currently working on the Dockerization. It's still like the local installation requires you to set up like Postgres and so on. And we're about to Dockerize that, so like ease the installation procedures so they can set up with one command, and also maybe run our build server with Docker eventually. And if that works, go as far as saying we want to have Docker in production. Yeah, so this is what I, for example, are currently working on. I think Matt and Mariam, you are working on how to run a full stack test with Capybara against like a single page app as we have it?
Yeah, on the landing page, there's at the bottom there's a frequently asked questions page in our section that we're going to be putting into its own page so that people have answers to these, questions like why do I need to sign in and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it can be helpful.
For example, I also did small user studies where I went on technology meetups in Berlin. So right now I'm at my parents' home, but usually I live in Berlin and I can attend technology meetups there. And sometimes I ask people if they want to try out this application and see what is working well or where they are failing, and from that information try to improve the application. So Matt just mentioned one thing: people are always a little bit they don't understand immediately why they have, for example, to register. It's because to give them access to data that they can change later on, even when they, for example, remove or refresh their cookies, just as an example. So yeah, user studies, improving the application. Yeah.
The other thing that real quick, I know we're running out of time, is that like the other thing that I really like is the weekly meetings where we can actually talk about topics and see what's a priority for RFM and that, but also to do some actual coding. Like I think in most of the regular meetings, we actually get our hands dirty and have like different people driving and coding and adding stuff, PRs and things like this that I think for me has been really helpful.
Yeah, and also what just comes to my mind, I'm very lenient regarding deployments. So I think Mariam and Matt, you deployed independently recently. So I give everyone who likes to write access to the repository. Pushing to master branch will trigger an automatic deployment run by Travis. So this is our build server. It will also deploy the current master branch. And yeah, I generally just trust people. So it's fine to like click the merge button and trigger the deployment process. Even if something goes wrong, nothing bad will really happen because we have our build server which enforces that all tests are, for example, passing. And yeah, so also for beginners, I think it's nice to be part of the maintainers team, I would say. So it's not only you and your laptop, but you can also like deploy things and stuff.
Wonderful, wonderful, great stuff. A ringing endorsement. Robert, thanks so much for taking the time to the project. Apologies again for the technical issues on my side. Just going to stop the broadcast now. We've got 15 minutes before our AGM is coming up. I'm probably